if you have a question regarding an issue in your life, and it comes from your heart. It's not from your head, but from your heart. If you have a question from your heart, then that is where the deepest learning takes place. But if you have questions from your head, it's not going to have the same impact. And this is the problem with most people. That is, most of us have learned to do everything from our head. And we use the brain and we use our emotions. But we also have components of our human being that are extrasensory. We have intuition on a lot of different levels. And so from an intuitive mind come intuitive questions. In other words, not just linear questions, not just superficial questions, but deeper, more spiritual questions that are designed to open doors and to help you discover a new path in your life. Because if you don't come from the right place with your question, then you're not going to end up going in the right direction, even if you get the answer you're looking for. You can talk all you want, and you can listen for years and years. And I know many, many people, year after year, 20, 30, 40 years, since I was a little boy, people I've known. Some people have such a difficult time breaking through. And I say it's because they're doing too much brain work, too much head work. They're figuring too much. They're thinking too much. It's not trickling down deeper into the heart where the soul is. The brain is not where your soul is. The brain is your PC, the most amazing PC that will ever probably exist. Although recently I read an article that says in another 10 years or so, they'll have computers that are able to outcalculate the brain by 1,000,000 times or something. And I don't doubt it, because I think most people don't use that much of their brain anyway. I don't think they use the potential of their brain in combination with their heart and their soul. And so they don't have a holistic relationship with the world. And most people are not present in their own lives. And this thing about living in your head is what keeps you from being present. It's what keeps you from becoming conscious on so many other different levels. And it's what keeps you from becoming an intuitive person. Because as a human being, it's not instinct. See, like a rabbit or a fox or whatever creature you care to think of. Those things come into this world with a set of standardized instructions. And so they don't really need the kind of consciousness that human beings have. They don't need the apparatus of consciousness. They don't need a conscience because they can't do anything wrong. When a fox kills another creature, it's just surviving. Why should it feel conflict over that? But human beings are designed in such a way that we have to get along. We have to learn how to relate to one another in the right way. And we need, in order to do that, to come in touch with the source of what is right within ourselves. If we learn that only from our environment, then our environment can shape us and mold us into anything it wants us to be. And so then you have the different cultures that we see all over the earth. But you see, all human beings we are all the same inside. I would like to offer this scenario about the human condition. And what comes to mind, one of my favorite movies from a long time ago, one of the most powerful awakening movies I've ever seen, H.G. Wells' Time Machine. It was first published in 1895. If you haven't seen the movie, I think you should do so, because it illustrates a problem that we all have to deal with on some level. And that is that we, human beings, have a propensity toward codependence. Now think about what I'm saying. From the time we are born, if we aren't cared for by somebody, obviously we'll die. Now, how does that differ from the animal kingdom? Baby chicks come out of an egg, and within a week or two, they're beginning to become almost completely self-sufficient. Just about every creature, with some exceptions. Baby elephants need nurturing for some time. I think it's up to a year or two. Baby cows need the attention of their mother. Baby sheep, just for a while, just for a short while, and then they end up being independent and moving off to do what nature has designed them to do. Every creature that comes into the world doesn't require the kind of nurturing and care that the human being does, because the human being is a very complex creature, very different than other creatures, because we have a soul. Now, some people say that animals have souls. I don't know. They have spirits, I would agree, but I don't know about a soul. I think a soul is unique to the human being. And so what is that soul but a receiver or a transmitter or both? And so, depending upon what kind of world you're born into and what kind of upbringing you have and what kind of conditioning and programming is installed within you, you will become a messenger. You'll become an agent. And so what we have in this world are essentially two kinds of people. I mean, it really boils down to two kinds of people. People that are looking for and finding the truth, and people who are avoiding and escaping from the truth. So you have to ask yourself, well, on a scale of 1 to 100, where do I fit in to those two categories? And I would say that everybody's somewhere between halfway, between wanting the truth and not wanting the truth. And then, of course, the circumstances of our life propel us in different directions. You know, the word emotion comes from the Latin word to emote, which means to move from. So emotion is a mover. It causes us to move and reach and back away, and it causes a complex system of behaviors as it propels us through life. And so some people are more in control of their emotions than others. But everyone, every human being, has a number of different mechanisms, because we also have, beyond emotion, we have reason, see, and we have consciousness, and we know the difference innately between right and wrong. But as we are programmed by the environment that we come into, slowly but surely, what we could have been, what we all could be, if we were allowed to be free from contamination, from the environment that we live in, something of the environment, a piece, a part, a component of the environment that we grow up in, becomes us, and we adopt an external view of who we are, and then we become what we adopt. We embrace it. And so the problem is that every single human being has become an extension of something from the outside. See, we're outformed people. And so becoming informed or inwardly formed requires for a person to awaken to the fact that all that's happening in their life is a result of the conditionings that have caused each one of us to lose our original potential, the conditionings and the programmings that have caused every one of us on some level to lose our original potential to become different people than we are right now. And so why do I bring up H.G. Wells' Time Machine? Well, I get insights. I get picture insights. I'm a picture thinker. I'm not an abstract thinker. And it occurred to me that in a sense, in the environment that we are currently finding ourselves in and throughout the world, the characters in the H.G. Wells Time Machine movie seem very pertinent, because in the story, this man invents a time machine and he moves 800,000 years ahead in time, and he walks through the jungle and he finds this group of people, these beautiful people. They're all taken care of and they seem almost perfect. And he thinks to himself, so this is the future of the human race, to bask in the sun and enjoy life. And just as he's thinking that, a woman falls in the water, a stream, and as she's drowning, all of the people around her that are sitting there are just sort of nonchalantly watching her, sort of oblivious to her dilemma. So he runs and jumps in the water, the hero of the story, and saves the girl. And so he pulls her out of the water and he asks her, is she okay? And then she suddenly just stands up and walks away as if nothing happened. She's sort of indifferent, completely, like everyone else in the environment is like indifferent to each other. And so he's puzzled. The hero is puzzled, and he doesn't understand what has happened to these people. So I found the scene in the movie where these people called the Eloi, they are going to a large dining hall, and the woman he rescues stops to return his coat to him. And this is their dialogue. Listen to this.
Why did you?
Why did I what?
Come after me?
Sit down. I did it to save your life. That doesn't seem to mean much to you or anybody else around here.
It doesn't.
Do you realize there are about 20 of your friends watching you drown? Not one of them so much as lifted a finger to save you. It's a very curious attitude. Very curious world. Aren't you the least bit interested in who I am? Where I come from?
Should I be?
I think perhaps you better take me to somebody a little older. Somebody I can talk to.
There is no one older.
You mean nobody ages in this land of yours? Well, what's your name?
He's trying to understand the mindset of these people. Well, of course, as we find out, nobody ages because every so often something happens that's very strange. Now what you're hearing are the air raid sirens. This brings me to the point, why am I bringing this up? Because when the air raid siren sounds, all of the pampered people, all of these beautiful people, hypnotically march toward their own doom. They go toward an underground cavern where those who take care of them and provide for their every need and pamper them and feed them, those creatures that live underground, which are called Morlocks, and they aren't human-looking. They look like little demons. Those creatures have provided everything for a reason, so that eventually, once these Eloi reach a certain age, they're a food source to the underground dwellers. And so this is very relevant to the condition that many people find themselves in, that we turn to the people who seem to be caring for us and giving to us and nurturing us. But ultimately, what we are to many of them is nothing more than a meal. Now, I'm not saying that literally. I'm saying that as a way of trying to explain to you that the people that try to give you everything and try to provide you so that you don't have to do anything for yourself, so that you don't have to develop character, so that you don't have to become independent and think for yourself and live a unique and authentic life and become an original version of an original person. The people in our lives that cripple us, and so often in the name of love, like the half-ton teen. There's an amazing special on the Learning Channel about the 19-year-old boy who was almost 1,000 pounds. And his mother thought that she was doing this to him out of love. In the contents of that program, halfway, three-quarters of the way into it, she makes a statement. She says, well, you know, we just thought that everything would go on, that nothing would ever change, but I've got to let him grow up now. It's like, wow. 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 So we have in our lives two dynamics. We are either dependent upon someone or someone is dependent upon us in some way, shape, or form. And this is why it's so hard to live your own life, to be the person that you can be. And I know that everyone out there on some level has this scenario playing out in their life. It's literally unavoidable. Because even if you rebel, even if you think that you're the maverick, you know, there's really only one authentic way to be a true rebel, and that is to neither conform nor rebel. You want to understand what that means? Trying to help you understand why your life isn't working. It's a hard thing to do. Waking up is hard to do, and it's hard, even still harder, to wake people up. What does it take to wake people up? Sometimes it does take a terrible tragedy, but you see, the propensity of the person who has fallen away from their original childlike potential is to fall into a hypnotic state. And that hypnosis is induced by the life that we live. Life itself is hypnotic. And the influences in our life are hypnotic. And the programming of our life is hypnotic. And the cultural icons of our life are hypnotic. And therefore, we live in a world based on keeping human beings in a sleeping, semi-hypnotic state, just a barely functional state. And of course, this is one of the reasons why people have consistent anxiety, consistent depression. Because when you're not free to live your own life, then you begin to start to feel that life is hopeless. And you feel an impending sense of doom. You feel that there must be something that you can do about it. And then the very entity that has induced the condition offers you a variety of ways of committing suicide. And so, for those of you out there who are not yet ready to wake up, I give you the sirens of the Eloi. Come. Come to your enablers. Come one, come all. Those of you who wish to sleep.
What's happening?
Yes, you sleepers. What's the matter with you all? You hear the siren? Calling all of the psychoticons. All of you sleepers who don't wish to awaken. Yeah, it's pretty irritating sound, isn't it? Yeah, I have to admit it is. Drive you crazy. Now, the movie that you want to see is The Time Machine with Rod Taylor, made in 1960. That's this movie that I'm playing. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it on YouTube. A very instructional movie in a sense that it helps you to begin to see how we've all been conditioned to be psychotic at some level, in a state of hypnotic existence, the feeling hopeless until we have someone that comes along and promises to save us from ourselves, which, in fact, whoever promises to save you from yourself is really setting you up to be a meal. It was Yvette Mimieux, who was the young woman in the H.G. Wells Time Machine, and she was 17 years old when she made the movie. And, hey, maybe I should play the siren again for those of you who are the Eloi out there. Oh, yeah, it's pretty disturbing. It's really irritating. They're all going down to be eaten. And the reason why is because they live in this semi-hypnotic state that I've been talking about. See, they are conditioned. They have PTSD. That's what happens. See, there are those actuator moments in your life where something happens and then you go into the sleeper mode. And you act out certain strange behaviors. And you know, it's even with food. I have to tell you, you got to understand something. You think it's silly and ridiculous that certain groups complain that there are more, let's say, fast food restaurants in certain parts of our social system, like in the inner city areas. And there are groups that complain that those fast food places are part of the reason why people are obese. But I have to tell you this, that they pipe that greasy, good-smelling stuff out into the street. And you know, when people smell that as they drive by, there is a hypnotic trigger in that aroma. Just like when a man smells a certain perfume on a woman, or when a woman sees something about a man, there are triggers, and there are triggers and triggers and triggers and triggers, thousands of triggers, millions of triggers. And in our head, pop, something happens. And there goes the steering wheel of the car into the parking lot. Gotta satiate that impulse. You see? Are you living your own life? You think really living your own life? How many logos do you have on right now? I bet your underwear has logos on it. Of course. Do you buy the underwear or do you buy the logo?